Hello there, and welcome to the Time Machine with Trish and Mike. I'm Mike.
And I am Trish.
And we're back with you once again. I know after last week's episode, it may have seemed as if it completely went off the rails at the end, but we have got the train back on track.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the time machine reprogrammed, and we are ready to roll once again.
That's right. Happy almost. Well, it's coming up on mid-October at the end of this week.
Yeah, by the because it's October 7th now, so we're by the time we get through this week's episode, we'll be at the middle of the month already. You believe it? This year?
No, I can't.
This year has completely flown by.
It's crazy. And as a teacher, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have midterms and parent-teacher meetings. It's like
didn't we just start the school year?
Very crazy. It's already a holiday weekend here in Canada.
Yeah, which we'll get to here in just a minute. Well, that's good. Did you have a good week?
I did have a good week. Yeah, it's been just, life trucking away, getting stuff done, enjoying the brief fall that Edmonton has. It's like 3 days of fall here.
It's started to cool off a little bit down here. I mean, it's still upper 80s, but it's not in the 90s anymore. And we've had a little bit of a breeze. So it's, it's not been terrible.
Mm-hmm. The Farmer's Almanac does predict that we are going to be pretty mild until November. And then the Farmer's Almanac predicts that it's going to be they're saying it's going to be like minus 50 in December. And I'm like, I really hope that this prediction is not correct because I might cry.
Because that's like January and February weather for you normally, right?
Yeah, it's because whenever we have that polar vortex that comes down, it can be minus 50 and it's so brutal and awful. I know February can be like that, January, February. So I really in December, it's unheard of to be that cold.
Well, good luck with that.
I know. I'll keep you guys posted if this prediction comes out. I actually learned the other day, this is a very interesting trivia bit, how the Farmer's Almanac predicts the weather is by butchering a pig and looking at its spleen. That's how farmers would make predictions, apparently.
Well, at least we've evolved from that.
Yeah, I'm very glad we give science, a little bit more benefits.
I mean, if you're going to eat it anyway, what's the point? But, you might as well. But yeah. Okay, then.
Yeah, you can Google it. It's pretty interesting.
I want some sausage. It's been a while since I've had breakfast. So,
like breakfast for supper or breakfast in general?
Well, normally my breakfast is a cup of coffee and a granola bar or something. So
yeah,
but I'll do breakfast for dinner a lot. So
yeah, that's the best dinner.
Because you can enjoy it. Because I don't eat a big, do as I say, people, not as I do. I don't eat a big breakfast, really.
Yeah,
I've just never been a big breakfast person. I need a little something, but I don't take me to. I've had Waffle House for dinner way more than I've ever had it for breakfast.
Right.
Yeah. Give me a waffle, sausage, eggs, hash browns, the whole deal. I'd rather eat that at dinner time. That's just me.
Early in the morning, I can't.
Yeah.
I even as a little kid, I know parents are I make sure my kids eat before they go to school. But as a kid, my mom would be like, here's your piece of toast. And I would just walk up the road eating my buttered toast. And that was my breakfast.
Same.
Because I just didn't have an appetite.
As a kid, I would either have usually a bowl of cereal or maybe couple of eggs and a piece of toast or something, nothing
crazy
big. Right. It was never more than one food item. Nowadays, I might stop on the way to work and get a sausage biscuit or something like that, but that's it, or a chicken biscuit or something.
I never have enough time. I'm always running late. That's just how Trish rolls.
Well, we're thankful that you roll on here every week to bless us with your Canadian self.
My Canadian content.
Yes.
And what I always have room for is Thanksgiving dinner. Because it is, of course, Thanksgiving in Canada this weekend on October 11th this year. Now, we have very different Thanksgiving holidays because yours is later in November.
Yep. Last Thursday in November.
Yeah. I always kind of thought we had it when we did because of the harvest season, because you guys have a longer harvest season. which does kind of play a part in it. But I digress. We'll get into it, right?
Okay.
Yours started in 1621 when the Pilgrims of Plymouth ended up, giving thanks with the indigenous peoples for helping them through the first crazy year of living in the New World. Right? For Canada, there's a couple of stories. So as one goes, in 1578, English explorer Martin Frobisher and his crew gave thanks in communion around Frobisher Bay, which is in present-day Nunavut, which we've talked about when it became a territory.
Yep.
On board their ship anchored there. So they don't know if it was on the ship or on the land, but anyway, it was around there. And the explorers dined on salt beef, biscuits, mushy peas, and they gave thanks through communion for their safe arrival in then Newfoundland. And that's kind of accepted as the first Canadian Thanksgiving, 43 years before yours.
Thankfully, our Thanksgiving dinners have evolved from that.
Yeah, I'm glad we don't have mushy peas and just salt beef.
I don't like peas. I don't eat peas.
My mom's the same way. Like, she doesn't like cooked vegetables. Like, if it's raw, like, I love raw peas. Getting them out of the shell. Yes, fresh from the garden. Those are great.
I'm way more of a fruit guy than a vegetable guy. And I think probably cooked vegetables is probably the reason, because none of them, they don't smell good. And if it doesn't smell good, I don't want to eat it.
Right.
I mean, I'll eat potato. Yeah. Okay. That's my vegetable. But
vegetable.
Like, give me apples, give me grapes, give me strawberries. I'll eat that stuff all day. I love that. But vegetables, I'm just not really. I mean, corn I'll eat. That's about it.
I do like corn and potatoes. I really like them raw though. Like, I love broccoli and cauliflower, even though, my thyroid, lack thereof, doesn't like carnivorous. Is it not carnivorous?
that would be meat.
Oh, now I can't think of the word, but it basically means like any vegetable that has kind of like a crown, or like broccoli and cauliflower do. Anyway,
well, if we're ever at dinner and that comes out on my plate, I will just slide it on into yours. Be like, here
you go, Trish.
I'll take your fries. You don't need those, Trish. have my cauliflower.
Do not take my fries. I want cauliflower and the fries. So that was considered the first one, and of course 43 years before yours. Just got to rub it in there, because Canada never gets to come before America in anything.
Pretty much true. I mean,
it's true,
except for hockey gold medals, but whatever.
That's true. Well, I mean, we did invent the game. We got to have a bit of a.
We're gonna win the gold in 2022.
We'll see.
I'm just saying. I'm calling our shot now.
We'll see. 48 years later, on November 14th, 1606, the inhabitants of New France, under Samuel de Champlain, which we have looked at before too, held huge feasts of Thanksgiving between local Mi'kmaq and the French. Though not known at the time by settlers, cranberries, which they enjoyed at this dinner, rich in vitamin C, obviously helped them to avoid scurvy. Now, the neighboring Mi'kmaq are the ones that introduced them to cranberries, or as the French call them, and my French, guys, from high school is very bad, but petit pomme rouge, little red apples.
We know that.
Little un petit peu.
No, we know that your French is bad.
Oh, yeah.
We've learned that.
We've learned that. It's bad. But his feasts, Champlain's feasts, are actually more often than just once a year. So to prevent that scurvy, they would have little feasts every couple of months. And here's another French one for you. The Ordre de Bon Temps, right? The Order of Good Cheer was founded, and it would offer these festive meals to encourage people to enjoy a variety of food. Therefore, they could get their vitamins and minerals so they could stay healthy.
Avoid the scurvy.
Avoid the scurvy, hearty. Despite the history of uniquely Canadian Thanksgivings, right, our modern concepts of Thanksgivings are influenced by you guys, our American neighbors. And so foods that are associated with a traditional Thanksgiving, not mushy peas, not salted pork, from North America, like the North American turkey, squash, pumpkin, those were introduced to the citizens of Halifax in 1750 by the United Empire Loyalists. So those are those Americans who didn't want to fight against the British during your war. And so they came up into British North America and settled in Halifax and brought that traditional fare with them. So thank you. I'm very appreciative.
You are welcome.
Yeah. Now, in Canada, Thanksgiving's always held the second Monday of October, and it has been at least since Canadian Parliament declared it so on January 31st, 1957. Before that, Thanksgiving was kind of held sporadically. It was declared a national holiday in 1879 for November 6th, which is really interesting because obviously we haven't celebrated on November 6th since 1957. But the reason they changed it was because we made Remembrance Day, November 11th, which is, to officially remember the soldiers that fell in battle for World War I and II. And so they decided they didn't want these two holidays on the same weekend. And so they bumped ours up into October, which works because our harvest season is usually complete by the end of October anyway.
Yeah.
Whereas I know in America it goes longer.
Yeah. And that makes sense, that you wouldn't necessarily want two competing holidays so close to each other. Because if you look forward to December and January, Christmas and New Year's are a week apart.
Right. It's not ideal. And also they're kind of, although they're both about, I think, giving thanks for things that you have. One is definitely more celebratory and one is definitely more quiet and reserved. So
reflective. Yeah. No, I would totally agree with that.
Yeah. So what is your favorite thing to eat at Thanksgiving, Mike, when you have yours in November?
Turkey, rolls, mashed potatoes, pumpkin
now
pie.
It's dinner.
I know. We always do this to ourselves. We always record this when we're hungry.
See, and I never had pumpkin pie until I came to Alberta. My mom said that they used to have it when my brothers were little, but my brothers didn't like it. So we never had it. And I was like, what the hell? Just because Norman and Raymond don't like it, I can't like it. Same with my mom used to be like, yeah, we'd always go camping, but we did all the camping. We were done by the time you came around. What?
It's like we had two kids that don't like pumpkin. The third one won't either.
Whatever.
Won't even bother.
It's fine.
She won't know what she's missing out on.
So anyway, I love pumpkin pie and I look forward to it every Thanksgiving now.
Good. Well, you get to enjoy some in a couple days. So have a piece for me. I haven't had any yet this year because that's the nice thing. You don't have to necessarily wait till Thanksgiving. A lot of restaurants will start having it usually sometime in October. So
and we talked about the pumpkin spice latte, which is funny that I love pumpkin pie, but I really don't like pumpkin spice lattes.
You're weird, child.
I am weird.
Mm-hmm. That's why they didn't bother with the pumpkin with you. So anyway, where you could probably get some pumpkin pie this time of year?
Where?
You could probably get some at the White House.
I think you could probably get whatever you want when you're at the White House. The president's probably just like, whatever, at whatever time.
I mean, yeah, are you going to say, no, Mr. President, you can't have pumpkin pie? I mean,
I'm not going to say no to him.
Right. I mean, it might take a minute to go prepare one, but make it happen. We're mentioning the White House, of course, because on October 13th, 1792, the first stones were laid of the United States Executive Mansion, which would go on in 1818 to become known as the White House.
After we burned it.
Well, we're getting there. So the Executive Mansion is based on the Leinster House in Dublin, Ireland, which today houses the Irish legislature. So that was the inspiration behind the original look of the building. It's very cool. Since expanded and grown a bit. So construction began in 1792 using Aquia Creek sandstone, which is a specific type of stone that they found in the area. It was relatively easy to get. There was plenty of it, and they painted it white because it was more of like a brownish gray kind of color. And the material was actually used in some other significant buildings in DC, including parts of the original U.S. Capitol building.
Oh, cool.
So that's kind of cool. Of course, then in 1814, as part of the War of 1812, which really should be renamed because it lingered on clearly past 1812, but that's the name we run with. The British Army decided to burn Washington and destroyed much of the building. Reconstruction began.
And Canadians have been apologizing. I mean, we apologize, I guess, but it's also we get that nice little satisfaction of we did it.
you apologize for everything. I mean, there's a reason that other than Canadians' favorite word is sorry. You know, I mean, you guys, I'm sorry. You know, and that's how you say it. Like, you sound like you're sorry.
Don't say sorry like that.
Yeah, you do. Say you're sorry.
I'm sorry, Mike, that we don't say sorry like that.
See, now you're intentionally trying it. If you go back and listen to last week's episode, you're like, I'm sorry. Yeah, so obviously it's expanded over the years. In 1948, though, they realized that some of the infrastructure of the White House was beginning to weaken and needed to be replaced. So they over time replaced the internal structure with a steel frame construction inside the walls to kind of reinforce everything, because that would not be good if the White House collapsed. That would not be. So yeah. And on Saturday, November 1st, 1800, John Adams becomes the first president to take residence in the building. So he was the first one to actually stay there. And he wrote, "I pray heaven to bestow the best of blessings on this house, and all that shall inherit." I'll try this again. "I pray heaven to bestow the best of blessings on this house, and all that shall hereafter inhabit it. May none but honest and wise men ever rule under this roof."
Very good blessing.
Yes, very good. It would, I have to go into that 1800s verbiage to properly phrase that, because we would phrase things probably a bit differently nowadays. And I will reserve comment on the honesty and wiseness of some of the individuals who have ruled under that roof. On both sides. I'm not narrowing anyone specifically out when I say that. Oh,
no. I can think of Democrats and Republicans.
President Roosevelt actually had that blessing carved into the mantle in the state dining room.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So that's
I would love to go on a tour of it. It's definitely what I want to go to Washington, D.C. in general to see a bunch of things. Like, that is definitely on the bucket list of Washington, D.C. stops.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Going back, though, to the War of 1812, which, that was
like, no one really won or lost, to be fair.
No, they didn't. But so this is kind of interesting. So when, the British troops, of course, they're trying to retaliate for burning Toronto, which was then called York at the time. They come and they set the White House and everything ablaze. Well, shortly after the attack began, the storm that saved Washington hits. And to this day, no one's quite sure if it was a heavy thunderstorm or if it possibly was a hurricane, comes through and dumps a bunch of rain, puts out a lot of the fires, which kind of saved things from getting out of control. Because as we've learned with previous city burning stories, it's not like it is now. When fires burn, they would burn for days and things could get out of control very badly. So
I think this week actually is the anniversary of the Chicago fire. When I was looking up some research,
might be.
Yeah, but which, like you said, previous fires, just whole cities go, and then you have to redevelop it from scratch,
which is a huge pain.
Yeah.
Did you know the White House actually became one of the first wheelchair accessible government buildings in Washington?
Really? That makes me so happy. I love hearing that.
Because Franklin D. Roosevelt, who used a wheelchair, they had to kind of, modify.
They had to accommodate for him.
Yep.
Oh, that makes so much sense. Oh, I love that though.
All right. I know what else you love.
You do know what else I love. I love a lot of things, but this is one that I love in particular. 2
minutes and go.
It's not going to take 2 minutes. So I was waiting for my song.
Oh.
October 11th, 1521, King Henry VIII of England was given the title Defender of the Faith by Pope Leo X, following the publication of the King's book against Martin Luther, which is like super ironic, right? He's the defender of the Catholic faith and then totally annihilates it when he wants his divorce and acts like a spoiled child when he doesn't get it.
Yeah.
And just is like, I'll start my own church then, I guess. And
it didn't
the
even
Anglican
take
church
him,
is born.
And it didn't even take him 2 minutes to start it, I'm sure.
Nope.
And that's been your 2-minute tutor time with Trish. Something that was longer than 2 minutes and probably felt like it went on for 2 days is the most lopsided football game in American history.
See, and I don't know any of this.
Okay. So October 7th, 1916, Georgia Tech defeats Cumberland University. Now, if I said they beat them 63-0, you would think that's pretty bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, just a couple of weeks ago, there were there are college football games with that score. That happens sometimes, 63-0. Okay. Yeah. It was 63-0 after the first quarter.
Oh, whoa. That's bad.
It was 126-0 at halftime.
What?
Final score, 222-0.
Nothing. They didn't get any points.
They did not get any points.
I feel so bad for them. That's so humiliating.
Well,
that's a bad score.
There's kind of an element of revenge in this score,
I'm intrigued.
Which we'll get to. So this is the most lopsided game in the history of American college football. Cumberland College was a school in Tennessee, and they had discontinued their football program the year before, but they were obligated to still play this game against Georgia Tech. So college football, even clearly back then, becomes of dollars and cents, and there's a lot of business to it. It's like you're obligated to play this game. You have to fulfill this commitment, or you're going to have to face fines, which we'll get to. So the previous year, Cumberland's baseball team beat Georgia Tech 22-0, which it's a lot for baseball. And there were allegations that Cumberland used professionals as ringers on the team.
Those dastardly schools.
So Georgia Tech's football coach, John Heisman, yes, the guy the Heisman Trophy is named after.
I know that one.
He was also the baseball coach, and he felt that there's payback in this. Hence the 222 number that he scored. Because if football, if you beat somebody 22-0, that's doable.
Like he probably didn't have to hammer home the team that much.
Well, we'll get there. So he insisted that they have to play this game. Otherwise, Cumberland was going to have to pay $3,000 to Georgia Tech if the football team failed to play this game. And so that would equivalent to about $71,000 now, which is college athletics is nothing. In fact, Heisman actually pays Cumberland $500 to come play the game, which works out to about $12,000 now. I hereby offer you the sum of $500 and an all expenses paid trip to Atlanta for your football team on the condition that you honor your contract by participating in and completing the Cumberland Georgia Tech football game. However, if this offer is refused, I shall be forced to demand that your school reimburse the Tech athletic department in the amount of $3,000 for losses from the projected net gate receipts. So Cumberland puts together a team of about 12 to 16 players who were mostly fraternity brothers or law students, but they're not football players.
Right.
And 3 of them got lost in Nashville and missed the train. So they likely had somewhere between 12 and 16 people, which again, in football, it's 11 versus 11. So if you only have 16 people, most of your guys are playing both ways. And so, you're not getting breaks, when offense versus defense, you're playing both ways. So they run the score up. Georgia Tech winds up scoring 32 touchdowns. The only effective defensive play that Cumberland had was they blocked an extra point.
That's and they were probably really proud of that point that they blocked.
Well, they basically formed a human pyramid, and Vicky Woods suffers a gruesome facial injury on the play. So I am assuming he got kicked in the face, I'm guessing, with a football.
Are you even allowed to do that move? Are you allowed to create a human pyramid of people?
You cannot do that, and this might be the reason. Anyway, despite scoring 32 touchdowns, Georgia Tech did not complete or attempt a pass. Everything was either running, returns, or defensive, interceptions or fumbles or whatever. Wow. At halftime, Heisman reportedly told his players, "You're doing all right, team. We're ahead, but you just can't tell what those Cumberland players have up their sleeves. They may spring a surprise. Be alert, men. Hit them clean, but hit them hard."
Oh, my goodness. These poor guys from Virginia.
Now, Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Now, to be gracious, Heisman relented, and they shortened the third and the fourth quarters from 15 minutes to 12 minutes.
So generous.
He granted them a little lenience.
So that score could have been way more.
It could have been, but I'm kind of with him. I think the 222 was what they were aiming for to get him back for the baseball game.
Wow. Yeah. I don't know why I said Virginia. That's weird. I was even thinking, Tennessee. We just did a poem about Sam McGee from Tennessee.
Well, they're border states. So
right.
Tennessee, Virginia borders Tennessee. So, in fact, the city of Bristol exists in both states. There's a Bristol, Tennessee, and a Bristol, Virginia.
Oh, see, we have that in Alberta too. Border towns.
There's literally a road that runs down the middle of the city and there's a marker that says Bristol, Tennessee, Bristol, Virginia. Yep.
Wow. That would have been a crazy game to watch.
I know. I would really watch it if there was footage or something. But we have a picture of the scoreboard.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Wow. Definitely not good vibrations happening.
No, not so much. But you're going to tell us about some good vibrations.
Some good vibrations. Speaking of good cheer company from Thanksgiving and not good cheer at this football game, the Beach Boys are going to release their hit song Good Vibrations October 10th, 1966. And it was considered the most expensive single record at that time. Right. First, before we get into it, do you know what the original name for the song was going to be, Mike?
I know this, but I can't think of it.
Brian Wilson he actually originally called it Pocket Symphony. And then he had been playing around with the song for about 17 recordings before landing on the song that we all know of as Good Vibrations. Right? The reason behind the name, he said, my mother, and he's quoted with telling Rolling Stones this, my mother used to tell me about vibrations. I didn't really understand too much of what she meant when I was a boy. And it scared me, the word vibrations, to think that there were invisible feelings that existed. She also told me about dogs that would bark at some people, but wouldn't bark at others. And so it came to pass that we talked about people having good vibrations. And he decided to change it from Pocket Symphony to Good Vibrations. I guess he worked on this song obsessively. He stayed home and wrote music while the rest of the band was out touring. And he was just starting a really bizarre phase in his life where he would spend long periods in bed and also work in a sandbox. So I don't know if he would play instruments in the sandbox or write songs in the sandbox, but apparently he spent time in a sandbox.
There you go.
Which was very strange. I guess he was getting some good vibrations from the sand. I don't know.
I guess he was. I have got some good vibrations. I've actually seen the Beach Boys in concert.
See, that would be cool. I love the Beach Boys.
I've seen them twice. I saw them once without Brian Johnson, and then back, I guess about 10 years ago, they did a 50th anniversary tour that he came back for with them. So
cool.
So it was, Brian Wilson was there and everything. So it was good. It was nice.
Oh, very cool.
They still tour to this day, although I don't think Brian tours with him anymore. I think they just kind of brought him in for the 50th.
For the one thing. Yeah, I don't think so. They actually recorded this song over 2 months in a top Los Angeles with top Los Angeles session musicians, because the Beach Boys didn't actually play anything on this song. They just sang. It's about 90 hours of studio time and 70 hours of tape were used, with at least 12 musicians playing in on the sessions. And so that's why it was considered the most expensive single at the time. Do you want to know how much it cost to record it?
We've got to use dollars from back then. I'm going to say $100,000.
Ooh, too high. 50,000 US.
Okay.
But with inflation, that works out to being about 422,000 US and 534,000 Canadian. So they said the Capitol Records didn't want to release it, Brian Wilson said, because they thought it was too long at 3 minutes and 55 seconds. And he pleaded with them to put it out. And he said that he felt vindicated when it shot to the top of the charts. So this was the last US #1 hit for the Beach Boys until, I bet you can guess which their next song was. Kokomo, and it went to #1 22 years later. Ooh, I wanna take you, setting the record for the longest gap between #1 hits on the Hot 20 or Hot 100. And this record was then later broken by Cher with Believe when that came out in 1999. I don't know if I know this song of hers, but 25 years previous, she had a #1 chart topper with Dark Lady in 1974. I'm like, I don't know that song by Cher.
I will be honest, I don't know a ton of Cher songs. I know a few. I think I might know that one if I heard it.
Right. If I heard it.
I mean, I know Believe. I know Gypsies, Tramps, and Thieves. I know a few of her songs, but I don't, off the top of my head, I don't know that one. But
yeah. See, and what is your favorite Beach Boy song?
Ooh, that is a tough call because I do like Good Vibration, do like Kokomo. I love God Only Knows, Sloop John B, Barbara Ann. I mean, there's so many. That is really tough. I don't know that I can actually pick one.
See, mine is I Get Around.
Yeah.
Only it was on a mixed vintage to us now, but a mixtape of like 60s and 70s song. And that being my parents' music, I grew up on it and I loved it. So
Little Deuce Coupe, maybe.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I don't know. It's so hard to pick one.
They're also catchy.
Right. They are. Yeah. I can't pick one. I vote for all the ones
you
I
off the
hook. So yeah. Well, we're gonna let everybody else off the hook and put the chart topper to. I don't even know where I'm going with this. Just do your thing.
Put the number one chart topper to rest.
There you go.
If you have any questions, concerns, queries, freakouts, you can find us, The Time Machine with Trish and Mike on Instagram, The Time Machine with Trish and Mike at gmail.com, Time Machine with Trish and Mike on YouTube. You can go to Anchor. You can find our show and you can leave us a voice message. We'd love to put your favorite Beach Boys song on our next episode. Let everybody know what you like.
Instagram story.
We'll
put up a little question box when this episode.
Yes.
So go to our story now and you'll see a little box and we'll play your favorite Beach Boys song. And maybe by then
I like it.
I'll have an answer for you.
True.
But until then, we'll catch you next week right here on The Time Machine.